All right, let's talk about VenHub. This is a company with a seriously bold vision to put a fully autonomous, robotic convenience store on pretty much every corner. It's an incredible idea, maybe the future of retail, right? But as we're about to see, their cutting-edge tech is on a direct collision course with a pretty brutal financial reality. So let's get into it.
So, it all boils down to this one simple question. What if a store could run around the clock, with absolutely no one on staff? It's a radical thought, and it gets right to the heart of what VenHub is trying to do. Create a store that never sleeps, never calls in sick, and is run completely by AI and robots.
So, what's the big deal? Why is this idea so compelling? Well, it all starts with the major problems that traditional retail is facing right now.
You know, if you look at a regular store, it's got some real headaches. Labor costs, they just keep going up, and that squeezes profits. Then there's shrinkage. That's the industry's fancy word for theft and lost products. And it's a huge, multi-billion-dollar problem. Plus, most stores can't stay open 24/7, and they're not always great at managing inventory. The whole industry is just, well, it's ripe for a shakeup.
And this is where VenHub comes in with their answer. Their solution is this self-contained, completely autonomous pod. You've got AI and robots doing everything, picking your items, bagging them up, the whole shebang. Security is next level. We're talking bulletproof glass and features designed to just stamp out theft entirely. But for the person who owns the store, the real magic is the data. You get an app with AI-driven analytics that helps you optimize every single thing you sell.
And listen, this isn't just about building a fancier vending machine. You can see it right in their mission statement. They are aiming to lead a global revolution in how we all shop to make the whole experience totally seamless and efficient for everyone, everywhere. It's a huge ambition.
Okay, so a big vision is great, but can they actually pull it off? Execution is everything. So how did VenHub take this idea from a drawing on a blueprint into the real world?
So 2025, this was a massive year for them. They kicked things off in the first quarter by actually selling and deploying their first 2 units. Then they made a really smart move, putting their own flagship stores in super high traffic spots like LAX and Union Station in Los Angeles. See, this wasn't just about making money, it was about getting eyeballs on the product and proving, in a very public way, that this thing actually works.
So by the end of the year, they had 5 stores out in the wild. Now, I know what you might be thinking. 5? That's it? But you have to understand, for a company going from a prototype to a real commercial product, getting those first 5 out the door is an absolutely critical milestone. It proves the tech is viable, and more importantly, that people will buy it.
And look, they knew 5 stores wasn't the endgame. To meet the demand they were seeing, we're talking over 1,400 pre-orders, they made another huge move. They opened a full-scale production facility in Las Vegas. This factory is the backbone they need to go from building one-offs to actually mass-producing these things.
But behind this story of amazing tech and successful first launches, if you look at the financial documents, they tell a very, very different story. And frankly, it's an alarming one.
Now, before we get to the numbers, we have to talk about this term, going concern. Let me be really clear. When a company's own auditors issue a going concern warning, it is the single biggest, brightest red flag they can possibly wave. It basically means they have serious doubts that the company has enough cash to stay in business for the next year.
And this is why they were so worried. In 2025, the very same year they launched those first 5 stores, VenHub posted a net loss of over $62 million. Let that sink in. For a company at this early stage, that is just a staggering amount of money to be burning through.
And this is what was left in the bank at the end of the year. Less than $90,000. To put that in perspective, they were burning through millions, but they ended the year with barely enough to keep the lights on for another month. They were running on fumes.
Now this number, a big fat 0, this might be the most telling number on the screen. See, VenHub's long-term plan, their real economic engine, isn't selling the physical stores. It's selling the high-margin recurring subscription to their software. A 0 here means that engine hadn't even been turned on yet. So you're probably asking, how on earth do you lose $62 million with so little cash? Well, here's your answer. Over half of that loss wasn't actual cash out the door, it was stock-based compensation. That's equity paid out to the team. At almost $32 million, it made up over 80% of their operating expenses. For investors, that is a huge red flag. It can dilute their own shares and doesn't always lock in key people for the long haul.
So let's just boil it down. Independent analysts basically pointed to 3 massive, potentially company-ending threats. Number 1, liquidity. They were just flat out of money. Number 2, internal controls. The CEO's family had 87% of the voting power, which raises serious questions about governance. And 3, the supply chain. They were heavily reliant on key parts from China, which is a big operational risk.
Okay, so the company's back is against the wall. They're in a really tough financial spot. So what's the plan? How do they survive this? Well, it all comes down to a race to turn on their real business model. Look at this. This slide tells you everything you need to know about their survival plan. On the left, that's their reality today, selling hardware, which has pretty low margins. On the right, that's the future they have to get to, a profitable, recurring software business. The entire fate of VenHub depends on whether they can cross that bridge and do it fast.
So how are they going to pull it off? Here's the roadmap. That $0 in software revenue, that was actually part of the plan. They gave their first customers a free year to get them on board. Now they're busy building the key features that people will actually pay a subscription for, like ID verification, for things like alcohol. If they can nail that, it opens up the really big opportunities: mobile stores, kits to upgrade existing spaces, and even partnerships with huge retailers.
And that's what this all comes down to, isn't it? VenHub has a truly revolutionary product, no doubt about it, a real vision for the future. But they are staring down a financial crisis that could kill the whole company before that vision ever gets off the ground. So the question is, can they turn those software dreams into cold, hard, recurring revenue before their financial reality brings the whole thing crashing down?